when standing your ground gets recast as conflict. There is a deeply confusing experience that many parents in high-conflict family systems eventually face. It happens when a parent finally, calmly, clearly, respectfully begins to stand their ground, only to discover that their stability is suddenly labeled as aggression, their boundaries reframed as hostility, their self-protection described as conflict. Because in certain relational environments, standing your ground does not get interpreted as strength. It gets recast as a problem. Many parents know this moment intimately. The point where patience has been stretched thin, where repeated misunderstandings, distortions, or violations have accumulated, where silence has cost too much, and the parent, often gently, often reluctantly, says, "This is not okay. I need to clarify something. I cannot agree with that. I need a boundary here." Not shouting, not attacking, simply asserting reality, dignity, or limits. Yet suddenly, the narrative shifts. You're being difficult. You always create drama. Why are you starting conflict? You're so combative. And the parent is left stunned. Because what feels like calm self-respect internally is being framed externally as disruption. This reframing does not happen by accident. It often emerges within systems, where harmony depends on compliance, where silence was rewarded, where accommodation was expected, where keeping the peace required self-erasure. In those environments, a parent who tolerates distortion is seen as cooperative. A parent who absorbs discomfort is seen as mature. A parent who finally resists becomes the problem. Because boundaries challenge systems built on imbalance. When a parent begins standing their ground, they are not just asserting a preference, they are disrupting a pattern that may have benefited others, stabilized others, protected others from discomfort. And systems rarely welcome disruption quietly. Instead, they often respond with deflection, projection, character labeling, narrative reversal. Suddenly, the issue is no longer what happened, what was said, what was distorted, but the parent's reaction, tone, delivery, attitude. The conversation shifts from content to portrayal. You're overreacting. You're too sensitive. You're making this a bigger deal than it is. And slowly, subtly, reality becomes secondary. Image becomes central. One of the most painful aspects of this dynamic is how destabilizing it feels to the parent, because standing your ground is often a deeply considered decision. Not impulsive, not reckless. It usually arrives after years of patience, repeated attempts at understanding, efforts to de-escalate, exhaustion from self-silencing. Yet when boundaries are finally voiced, they are framed as evidence of instability. This creates profound self-doubt. Am I being unreasonable? Was my boundary too harsh? Did my tone sound aggressive? Because when a system repeatedly labels self-protection as conflict, even the most grounded parent begins questioning themselves, especially if accusations are echoed by others, the co-parent, a step-parent, extended family, even the child. Over time, the parent may begin internalizing a deeply damaging belief. Maybe I really am the problem. But here is a crucial truth. Standing your ground is not conflict. Conflict arises from hostility, escalation, and aggression. Standing your ground arises from clarity and self-respect. Yet in high conflict or alienation-tinged systems, boundaries are often perceived as threats because boundaries expose imbalance. They interrupt narratives, they resist distortion, and when systems feel threatened, they often rewrite the story. The boundary becomes an attack. The clarification becomes an argument. The refusal becomes aggression. Over time, this reversal can become deeply ingrained. The parent's strength becomes their alleged flaw. Their stability becomes their alleged volatility. Their self-advocacy becomes their alleged hostility. Perhaps one of the most devastating outcomes is when children absorb this reframing, when they begin interpreting the parent's boundaries, not as protection, but as conflict. Why can't you just let it go? Why do you always make things tense? Why do you have to argue? Not realizing that what they are witnessing is a parent refusing to disappear. For the targeted parent, this dynamic is emotionally exhausting because it forces an impossible choice. Maintain boundaries leads to be labeled difficult. Relax boundaries leads to abandon self. Neither option feels safe. Neither feels peaceful. Healing from this experience requires something deeply stabilizing. Reclaiming the definition of strength, because when your grounded responses were repeatedly portrayed as aggression, you must slowly relearn, I was not creating conflict. I was responding to imbalance. I was not unstable. I was protecting my reality. This reframing is essential for emotional recovery, because one of the deepest wounds estranged parents carry is not only rejection, but mischaracterization, being remembered not as the parent who tried, but as the parent who caused tension. Yet truth is not determined by who repeated the loudest version. Sometimes standing your ground is the healthiest, most stable act a parent can make, even if it was not received that way, even if it was misunderstood, even if it was weaponized, because boundaries are not acts of aggression, they are acts of self-preservation. And sometimes healing begins when parents stop apologizing internally for the courage it took to finally say, "This is not okay." If this reflects your experience, if you've ever felt your calm boundaries were recast as conflict, please know you are not alone in that disorienting reality. If this video brought clarity or validation, you're welcome to like and subscribe to Depth of the Quiet. You can listen quietly whenever your thoughts feel heavy, and return anytime you need a calm, steady voice. If you feel safe sharing, you're always welcome to leave a comment below. No pressure, just support. At your pace, you are always welcome here.